Alright, Karina baby, it's the 3rd of May and it's Katie and Mrs. Duck. Let's take a look at this. One evening, Ma and Pa Perkins were going out for a little while, and Mrs. Duck had come to look after Katie Kitten. Ma and Pa kissed Katie goodbye. I don't want you to go, said Katie. We won't be long, said Ma. Goodbye, said Pa. We'll have some fun, said Mrs. Duck. As Ma and Pa closed the door, Katie began to cry. I can do magic tricks, said Mrs. Duck, pulling her 6 silk handkerchiefs from under her wing. I don't like magic tricks, said Katie, but secretly she did. Next, Mrs. Duck balanced some bouncing balls on her beak. Katie stopped crying. Can I try? She asked. Katie tried to balance the balls on her nose, but it wobbled off. When they had played for a while, Mrs. Duck said, It's bedtime, Katie. Can we play a little longer, said Katie. We can play in the bath, said Mrs. Duck. So they went to the bathroom, and Mrs. Duck turned on the taps. Swish went the water. Here's the bubble stuff, said Katie. Mrs. Duck squirted in lots and lots. There was bubbles everywhere. Then Katie climbed into the bath, and Mrs. Duck jumped in after her. Splash! She puddled up and down in the soapy foam to make Katie laugh. The two were having such a good time, they didn't hear Ma and Pa Perkins come home. Ma popped her head in the bathroom door. What's all this noise? She said with a smile. Some bubbles floated out through the door on the landing. And what's all this mess? Said Papa. Later, when Mrs. Duck was gone and Katie was tucked into bed, Ma and Pa came to say goodnight. Will Mrs. Duck be coming again? Asked Katie. Next time we go out, says Ma. If you want her to, said Pa. Yes, said Katie, I do. She had fun with her babysitter. Okay, next is the angel. After this is the Jungle Book. Whenever a good child dies, an angel of God comes down from heaven, takes the dead child in his arms, spreads out his great white wings, and flies with him over all the places which the child has loved during his life. Then he gathers a large handful of flowers, which he carries up to the Almighty, and they may bloom more brightly in heaven than they do on earth. And the Almighty presses the flowers to his heart. But he kisses the flower that pleases him best, and it receives a voice, and is able to join the song of the chorus of bliss. These words were spoken by the angel of God as he carried a dead child up to heaven, and the child listened as if in a dream. Then they passed over well-known spots where the little one had often played, and through beautiful gardens full of lovely flowers. Which of these shall we take with us to heaven to be transplanted there? Asked the angel. Close by grew a slender, beautiful rose bush, but some wicked hand had broken the stem, and the half-open rosebud hung all faded and withered on the trailing branches. Poor rosebush, said the child, let us take it up with us to heaven, that it may bloom above in God's garden. The angel took up the rosebush, then he kissed the child, and the little one half opened his eyes. The angel gathered also some beautiful flowers, as well as a few humbling buttercups and heartsease. Now we have flowers enough, said the child, but the angel only nodded. He did not fly upward to heaven. It was night and quite still in the great town. Here they remained, and the angel hovered over the small narrow street in which lie a large heap of straw, ashes, and sweeps from the houses of people who had moved away. There the fragments of plates, pieces of plaster, rags, old hats, and other rubbish. Amidst all of the other confusion, the angel pointed to the pieces of the broken flower pot and to a lump of earth which had fallen out of it. The earth had been kept from falling to pieces by the roots of the withered field flower which had been thrown amongst the rubbish. Well, we will take this with us, said the angel. I will tell you why as we fly along. As they flew, the angel related the history. Down in the narrow lane in the low cellar lived a poor sick boy. He had been afflicted from his childhood, and even in his best days he could just manage to walk up and down the room on crutches, once or twice, but no more. During some days in the summer, and the sunbeams would lie on the floor in the cellar for about half an hour, in the spot the poor sick boy would sit, warming himself in the sunshine and watching the red blood through his delicate fingers as he held them before his face. Then he would say he had been out, though he knew nothing of the green forest and the spring verdure, till a neighbor's son brought him a green bough from a beech tree. This he would place over his head and fancy that he was in the birch wood. Well, the sun shone, and the birds colored gaily. One spring day the neighbor boy brought him some field flowers, and amongst them was one to which the roots still adhered. This he carefully planted in the flower pot and placed in the window seat near his bed. And the flower had been planted by the fortunate hand, for it grew, but forth fresh sprouts and blossomed each year. It because a splendid flower garden to the sick boy and his little treasure upon earth. He watered it and cherished it and took care of it, should have the benefit of every sunbeam, and found its way to the cellar from the earliest morning ray to the evening sunset. The flower entwined itself even in the dreams. For him it bloomed, for him it spread its perfume, and it gladed his eyes, and to the flower he turned, even in death. When the Lord called him, he has been 1 year with God. During that time the flower has stood in the window, withered and forgotten, till cast out among the sweepings into the street on the day the lodgers moved. And this poor flower, withered and faded as it is, we have added to the nosegay, because it gave more real joy than the most beautiful flower in the garden of the queen. But how do you know all this? Asked the child from whom the angel was carrying to heaven. I know it, said the angel, because I was the poor sick boy who walked upon crutches, and I know my own flower well. Then the child opened his eyes and looked into the glorious happy face of the angel, and at the same moment they found themselves in the heavenly home where all the happiness and joy, and God pressed the dead child to his heart, and wings were given him so that he could fly with the angels, hand in hand, and the Almighty pressed all the flowers to his heart, and he kissed the withering field flower and revived its voice. Then it joined in the song of the angels who surrounded the tomb, some near and others in a distant circle, but all equally happy. They all joined in the chorus of praise, both great and small, the good, happy child, and the poor field flower, the ones laid withered in the cast away in the lump of rubbish in a narrow, dark street. I actually read that one before. Karina, baby, sometimes things happen, right? everyone needs to go home to God eventually. And I thank God that we all believe that there is a heaven and a place for us to go, because we all need God. We all need to have that, that idea, and that just, like, you have siblings in heaven, and God's taking good care of them, and your grandfather's taking good care of them, and you are just so loved, Karina, and I love you so much, and I hope you know how loved you are, and how much I do love you and do care for you. If I could be there with you right now, I would be. I just love you, and I just miss you, and I hope that you're doing okay, honey. I love you so much.